Latb, where MMA and UFC get silly. This is the Latb Podcast.
Welcome back to Latb MMA Podcast. As always, I'm your host, Emmanuel, here with the best co-hostess I could hope for. We got Cheney on the boards.
What
1, 2,
up?
3. How have you been since the last fight of the round table after the star-studded weekend?
I am doing fantastic. You know what? I actually had one, I don't even remember what one bad pick I picked last week, but I had it on every single one of my Draftkings cards. I don't remember what one it was, but it was like something.
Holtzman.
Yep, Hot Sauce Holtzman. I had him on every single one of my cards.
Of course.
Yeah,
of course.
Every single one. And other than that, my cards were lit. 100, Holtzman. 100, Holtzman. So it really kept me out. I did not end up in the money at all on the DK, but saved all my money for 252.
I'm in exactly that boat. The few cards I did play were pretty much tainted with Holtzman as well in there. The rest of them doing great. I went 9 of, 13? So only getting 4 wrong over the weekend.
What did I do?
It was
8?
legit, but the one that mattered. It felt like a losing weekend because of Plus Money Puesta was losing. So I'm like, screw everything else. I don't give a shit about the rest of it. So either way, there's a lot of spots to make it all back this coming up. Pay-per-view weekend 252 in the COVID era. We're going to be in the mini cage. We're going to have 11 bouts. We are still at whim of the MMA gods. We just had Ian Cutelaba fall out against Ankalaev, which was on the pay-per-view card. Cutelaba popping for COVID, so he'll be out a little while. Probably get back in it soon enough, probably within a month or two.
Well, I just realized it did work. We are streaming live to Twitch right now on Weekneck Baby, and that is not permanent to everyone watching. It will be going to Zol tonight. So, hey, what up, Jay Jeezer? So make sure you're going to Zol tonight and following him. So it might be on this stream 1 or 2 weeks, but it will be coming out of the Zol tonight channel on Twitch. So for the Twitch and the YouTube people, and I'm going to say this like 3 or 4 times throughout the broadcast just to remind people because we were so awful with it when we changed streams last time before when we changed feeds. So welcome everyone who is watching live. And for those of you who are not, you are missing out. Okay, go on.
Rightfully so. It is going to be some of the stuff that's turning around. So we should let people know where we're going to be moving to and as this progresses, because after this weekend, after some of these plays we're going to be making, the underdogs we're going to be picking, people are going to want to know where they could be making their bets and maybe watching some probably UFC and COD, maybe even a little Black Ops in there. But that's kind of what I stick to. I've tried that Apex stuff. I'm not that futuristic. It's tough for me. But I know, Cheney, you get into some of this Xbox gaming systems. What are some of the games you end up liking over all of them?
I just watch. I'm a huge fan. I'm like Flava Flav. I like to hype people's channels. Really, I'm going to play Tony Hawk Pro Skater when it comes out. That is August 14th. The Warehouse is released, and not until September, the whole game. But it'll give me time to like feel the controllers out again. I love Fallout, but I can't get down with Fallout 76. So, yeah. And apparently everybody's loving UFC 4. The bummy thing right now for the Twitch viewers, it's a black screen. So there is something off with the OBS, and I'm kind of scared to mess with it because we're also live on YouTube. So I'll have to figure it out. Like, so they can hear us on Twitch, but they cannot see our beautiful faces.
Our apologies. Working in progress. So get on over to that YouTube if you want to see them smiling faces for at least this episode. If not, it's going to be a strict podcast for y'all over on the Twitch stream for now. But any other MMA news? We had another Dana White Contender Series fight Tuesday. So as of yesterday, some bright prospects. Everybody got signed up onto the UFC. Another fight for a young man in there. I can't think of his name. Something really ethnic and hard to pronounce. but he definitely is going to be fighting here in about 2 weeks short notice because Dana's like, are you serious? You'll fight at 85? Okay. You're signed. You got the job. So, did you catch any of the Dana White Contender Series stuff?
I am sorry to say I did not watch any Dana White. I watched Below Deck Mediterranean.
Riveting.
It's
Sounds
on
riveting.
Bravo. It does not have Kate, the head stew of any Below Deck fans out there, but it does have Fat Jennifer Lawrence, and she is almost as entertaining.
So, definitely something you got to get into. On the other, for the other heathens like myself, you ended up watching some quick finishes in there. Some of the fastest we've seen at all. Beautiful foot. Was a young lady fight, the Hobbit. Team Alpha Male standout from Wales, better known as Poppins now, I believe. 21 years old, got in there and grounded out. I mean, you'd like her because you'd be like, that's my cousin. That is not an MMA fighter, and she gets it in there. She is definitely one of those girls.
That's my cousin.
Exactly. But putting it as a young 21-year-old in there, gonna be a fun prospect to watch, as are many of these young people coming into it. There was also an unbelievably gruesome finish in the main event where the fighter was picked up and he posted out on his hand to stop the takedown, and that elbow just went beep,
No!
and he was like, oh, absolutely out of the socket. He'll be fine. He's going to maybe need surgery, maybe to just relax it. We'll see what shredding they did in there. So it was a fun fight, though. Contender Series had fun prospects coming into the sport, especially with all of this going down, and there's even more fights on the way. It's good to be an MMA fan right now. There's so much content to be consuming, so many spots to make profits. That's what we're here to do.
I was listening to one of the podcasts that I love. I do listen to mostly conspiracy podcasts, but this is one that isn't. So I will share it with you guys since it's a normie podcast. But everybody loves Andrew Schultz, and I love Andrew Schultz. His comedy is legit. He's smart. He looks at things in an interesting way. He's on two podcasts that I like. One with Charlemagne the God called Brilliant Idiots. But the bomb podcast that I like of recent is Flagrant. And it's him and, I don't want to be racist, but it's like an Indian comedian, not Aziz Ansari. But it is Andrew Schultz, and it is so funny. Like, I really enjoy it, and I crack up. And so I was listening to this podcast, and they're all huge basketball fans. They watch basketball all the time. And since the whole COVID thing, you know, people's schedules have changed and their hobbies have changed, and everybody's kind of moved on with things, and they're not watching basketball anymore. They're not excited by it, but they are watching UFC every week. And they're normal basketball fans. And what they've realized is they just can't get down and not excited by sports without anything on the line. Like, maybe they'll watch come cups, like once they gets down to the belts. But
everybody can relate to a punch in the face. You know it hurts, so you know what people are putting themselves through. And
well, every fight matters, not just the belt fight. Every time you're in there, it matters, and that's what a lot of these basketball players are just showing up and collecting checks right now, because it doesn't matter until the end of the season. And once you watch fighting and get it, just the tiny piece, it's like you can't go back. You can't look at anything else the same. You told me that 2 years before I started watching fights. You told me that, and I was just like, it's brutal. I don't get it. Just seems like bloody. Back again. That sucks.
We're still live?
We are still live. That didn't
Awesome.
stop.
Kept
Yeah.
the feed going.
Yep, that didn't
okay.
stop. And we didn't lose internet or any of that. So we're excited to have you, Jay Jeezer, if we're back. I think we're still streaming everywhere. So whew. Sorry about that, you guys. We might fall off. We got that COVID internet.
It has been suspicious lately, for sure. For sure. Some of them storms, I'm sure.
Well,
have
the
something to
weirdest
do with
thing
that.
is you and I have different internet providers across the street from each other. We are also on different power grids across the street from each other. Shit still goes awry. Anyway.
That it does. So the whole world's suffering. It's all up in turmoil. We're getting tons of new fans. We foresaw it happening because we saw no other sports getting on there, and UFC being the first sport out there. Of course, anybody who's competitive and is like, I can't watch my tennis matches, I can't watch whatever. Let me see a street fight. It's the age-old adage that you go to a club and you're dancing, you're doing whatever, and a fight breaks out, everybody goes and watches a fight. Even in a concert, everybody goes and watches a fight. Even at football games, when people are in the crowd, even at Mike Tyson fights, remember the crowd, people being like, oh, and everyone watching people getting dropped over in the background.
Mike Tyson's in there.
Yeah.
People
and they're like, oh, fuck that boxing. It's the truth.
Everybody likes
the truth.
Fight. I'm a breaker-upper.
A fair fight.
I'm a breaker-upper.
Fair. I'm at letting grown men do whatever, but once it's done, I'm okay with being Herb Dean. I'm in there maybe after the second punch on the ground. I'm like, all right. He's done. Fucking don't kill him. Like it's done. You won. Get out of here.
I try to, I don't mind grown men doing grown men shit. I just worked in so many bars where I'm like, this isn't worth it. This isn't worth it on either side. Just walk away tonight. If you guys still want to fist fight tomorrow, do that. But I swear neither of you care about
true. Absolutely. One of the best competitive and martial arts lessons I've learned is, hey, it's easier to walk away from it. But when you can't walk away and you're backed up, that's when, hey, you got your wrestling and your jiu-jitsu in your back pocket to be able to have to defend yourself. And I love all of the stuff I've been seeing lately online and just how much of the evolution from where guillotines was the cutting edge of Brazilian jiu-jitsu, and Eddie Bravo starting off with his leg stuff and mission control. And now it's like people are using lapels and belts in the fights to affect the jiu-jitsu fights. And it's like, yes, this is what it's about.
A finishing move. I was thinking of making like a Kill Bill movie about it, but even like Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, how the guy like reaches his hand into the guy's chest and pulls his heart out.
Yeah,
I do that, except I just reach in and I grab people's internal organs out from their sexual organs. I reach right through their anatomy.
So you sexually assault them.
I call it all the way through. I call it the Access Hollywood bus or the Billy Bush. I haven't decided what the finishing move is going to be. But it doesn't matter, lady or man. It's like totally, it's not, I'm not sexist. It's just,
right.
But instead of the heart, I'm just like, boom, ovaries. Like, I don't even grab them by the pussy. I like go past the pussy.
I think I've seen some movies online about that kind of stuff.
I don't watch that kind of movies.
So, what I would have is, I think, just put in the hooks, the wrestling hooks, grabbing inside the armpits on the cage, getting behind someone. Because when people get flattened out and you see those little legs stick straight up because their knees can't bend because they don't know what they're doing, it demoralizes you as a human being more than you ever know. You're just like, oh, I'm pinned. It's such a unique feeling. Again, you got to get on the ground and realize that stuff so you know how to defend against it. And most people don't, so you don't hurt anybody that way. No one, if you want to sneak in a little rear naked choke right at the end, might as well.
I'm glad
but
my brother didn't watch UFC fights. I have enough broken times. I've broken my nose enough times. If we would have learned,
I feel like.
Oh, I was just
sorry.
saying, the amount of like moves better, that are more dangerous, and things that I've just learned as an adult watching UFC that I'm like, oh, if I would have known that then, like, we would have gotten next level. I didn't even know some of the things were, it's good we didn't know about jiu-jitsu.
Well, I was going to say we did because we were in that 15, 16-year-old time frame when we figured it out. But I think it was pretty ingrained in us that when it's a tap or when you're bending the knee or the elbow the other way, there's a point that you're like, no, you're going to do damage, and you don't do that, at least with the uncles that were showing us like, oh, look at this VHS, this is awesome. And we're like, oh, cool. Okay, I can do an armbar. Okay, that's cool. And just using wrestling mixed in with it. So fun how quickly we've gotten to where we're at now and the future of it, because styles are getting funky and I love it. Absolutely love it in there. Good times are ahead. UFC 252 is one of those good times. We haven't had a pay-per-view for a bit, and the trilogy is one of the best we could ever hope for. 1-1. Heavyweight, baddest man on the planet. Absolutely, it is going to be the thing to watch this weekend. And I can't even think of anything else that's going on over the weekend. What's happening over the weekend?
Besides the Fight Pick Championship? Besides DC versus Stipe? Besides probably everybody out there has to go to Walmart. I don't know what else is happening this weekend. That was a free plug for Walmart, just in case they need it during these hard times. I want to give a shout out though to Jay Jeezer on the stream. I don't even know if he's still there or not, because I don't know how totally the Twitch works yet. But he's the sweetest guy in the world. He also streams on Twitch, and he's going to be joining us for the Fight Pick Championship. So I just wanted to tell him ahead of time, I think you're a really sweet dude. If I say mean stuff to you, it is pure business.
We coming for you. We coming. Latb don't play. Oh, man. Evil Twin, that little hint of narcissism wrapped into the show now. Woo. People don't know.
He's not going to Fight Pick Championship?
He's not going to be in it, but I just feel like he's going to get me to a new edge level high, because, God, that guy doesn't quit.
You know what? I used to, I had one of my closest friends named The Legend. She wasn't my nicest friend, but she kept my wit the sharpest. And sometimes that is good to have around, or you have that person that constantly is like, and so you've had that your whole life.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So, fun times. UFC 11 card bout. As we were saying, Kutalaba and Kalayev 2's off of here. But we got a short notice replacement within 6 days at featherweight, 145 pounds. We got Kai Kamaka coming in against Tony Kelly. This is a dirty, disgusting double debut. You know how much we hate these sons of bitches, and especially on 6 days. Watch some tape on these guys. The fighting Hawaiian Kai in there is 7-2, coming off a 5-fight winning streak. I think it's at like 6 out of the King of the Cage, even some in Bellator. He's a decision machine. He can eat a hard shot. He's got a good 1-2. Not a lot of power, serviceable gas tank, but I don't think that outside of these COVID times, this short notice replacement because Kutalaba falling out, that Kaya necessarily gets the spot right now in the UFC, especially at 45, where I feel like people are really starting to get some winning streaks going and just a hotbed of fighters right now. So then Tony Kelly comes in as well with a 5-1 record, only losing a split decision to the only UFC caliber fighter he has fought, and that's Kevin Aguilar in a close split decision 4 years ago. The 33-year-old fighter is going to be 8 years older, last coming off of a win to Andy Bassett. He definitely likes to get these fights to the ground. He likes to push you up against the cage, has a good gas tank, multiple finishes in the third round by TKO and submission. But the level of opponent, again, middling, 2-5 type fighters. Anybody good he's faced has beat him. So 4-0. Again, these guys probably aren't UFC caliber right now, but they're just going to go at it. This is a clear stay away. I got a decision, Kelly. I think once it gets to the ground, Kai can fight him off, but I don't think he can get back up. But I've been playing a lot of these first ones. This is so easy. DraftKings doesn't even have a line for it, but I feel like it's going to be in that 8-2, 8,000 type of range. Really close matchup for all the wrong reasons. Big fat stay away. Are you even going to attempt this one in any of your lineups?
This is a big fat stay away for me. I'm just going to go the other way decision only because I have heard of the 808 Factory. The Fight Factory. I've heard of it. I have no idea who's in it. I've just heard of it before and know nothing about the other person. Also, Kai has a Bellator fight. I'm like, okay, I know that organization.
There is one guy, I feel like his name is Maki Batolo and Max Holloway. Maybe you've heard of that one.
Oh.
I think he's
over
that
guy.
The 808. Yeah, whoever that guy is. So
that 808 bump. Make you put your hands up. Make you put your hands up. That's why I know it. It's that G6 song.
Oh, I could be making that up, but I don't know.
No, maybe it is. Maybe they're from Hawaii. Like a G6.
I would believe
like
it.
A G6. I don't know.
On the actual betting lines, if people want to get a little bit closer on that one, interesting. I don't think there isn't even a betting line on it. That's damn near impossible. Yeah. So again, just move on to one that we have a little bit more tape on with another dirty, disgusting double debut at 265 pounds. Both of these heavyweights have come in with a little bit over like 2 to 3 week notice. They've stayed ready. One of them has a long tenured career at 10-5. Is Parker Porter coming in against Krzysztof Drukas. Porter coming in with good submission accolades. He has been fighting since 2012. He had some Bellator. I think he might have had some early UFC. No, that's Pineda. But either way, Porter has some Bellator experience in there, has some good elbows once he gets you up to the cage. He likes to wrestle. He gets hurt in a lot of his fights. Porter gets hurt by a lot lesser fighters, and he definitely has to rely on his wrestling to get the fight to the ground. That's who it was. Porter has 2 fights against Gabriel Gonzaga when Gabriel Gonzaga was coming up in 2012, and that's who he made his name off of, finishes off of Porter. So Porter took a break, about a 4-year break, 2 to 3 year break due to injuries, now at 35, but he eats a lot of damage in his fights in order to outgrind, and then he'll get Americanas, Kimuras in there, all the angles, upper body stuff, and grind you out. Where Christopher Drukas at 8-3, Cheney, you know I've been telling you about heavyweights. This is a heavyweight we're going to want to be watching out for because he is on. The Pennsylvania fighter can strike. He has been submitted and decisioned, even a TKO against Zulu, against Anu.
I thought you were going to talk about his tits.
He doesn't look like a professional fighter by any means whatsoever. He's definitely a little soft in the body and could probably move down to 205 easy. But the 6'2 fighter is a great striker. I mean, he counters really well, has a lot of forward pressure. He just can lead with his head at times, and that's where he's gotten caught, is where he's coming in with such a forward attack that his face will be in the way. And they're heavyweights. Any heavyweight can bang, but I feel like Porter here doesn't have that type of power. Like I said, I like his elbows out of the fence, but I think Drukas circles really well off of the fence. He has serviceable wrestling. It's not the best, but it's not lacking there either. So I think Porter has to get this to the ground, but I think with the amount of damage he usually takes against Drukas here, who when he throws, he looks like he throws with power, and he throws very straight linear lines. I think this is going to be a really fun heavyweight that we're going to see here in the near future. I'm going to go KO round number 1. I could go 2. I'm big. After watching the tape on both of these guys, I like Drukas a lot in this spot. Who do you think you're going to be taking out of these 2 young men?
Are you going to pick Drukas for a knockout?
Round number 1, correct.
I'm going to put Drukas knockout round number 1, too. I don't know anything about these guys. Parker Porter looks like a bat from a Chinese market, and so I don't want to eat that. And Drukas looks like He looks like the actor. He's been in a movie. He's a comic actor, but he looks like he should be like 185-pound dude. And then he just has this schlub of weight just hanging on him at like 256. I don't know. Maybe he'll go down. Maybe he'll be like one of those stories. But give me Dawkins. I don't know anything about this fight. I'm probably going to stay away from it. And it'll probably have to be on a card if you think of fast knockout.
I would, again, for the betting odds, minus 160 was what it opened up at. It's now minus 115, Porter minus 105 for Dawkins. Dawkins being gobbling all that up. Better's already coming in on Dawkins. So at 8,500 for Porter, he has to get a submission. I think that's really the only way he finishes this one. And Dawkins at 7,700. Yeah, I feel like I'm going to have to slow up and remember not to have him on every single card, not my Holtzman everywhere. Have a couple cards without him because I really like him for that inside the distance.
And I'm going to stay
is.
away from this dude. That would be my piece of advice. Stay away from this fight altogether. You don't know anything about these idiots. They're going to come in here and one of them's going to win. It'll be whatever you don't want to happen will be what happens. The other Porter will end up submitting him in 2 minutes, and then you'll be like, holy shit, I had Dawkins on all my cards. I'm never picking him again. So I would say stay away from what you don't know. I'm going to try to stick with my rules. It's fight pick championships again. I got to get serious.
Saving all the good stuff for the end here. At 145 pounds, we definitely have a fun matchup between TJ Brown coming in against debuting Danny Chavez. Chavez 10-3 in here, coming off a 3-fight winning streak, only having some submission losses, a decision loss against some 5-1, 8-0 type of fighters, but his last winning streak has also been on the regional scene over here in the States out of Global Legion 3 weeks ago, TKO. He likes to throw a lot of head kicks, a lot of body kicks, a lot of kicks in general, and he has gone to decision in a few other fights, has Chavez, but he definitely slows down a lot of that left kick that he flicks up there a lot. I feel like it works. It could even work here on Brown, who's shown a little bit of a suspect chin at times. But I feel like after 2 to 3 pieces of tape I watch on him, I'm like, oh shit. If I'm watching the same YouTube, so is his camp, and they're like, he's going to throw a 2-piece combination with a kick over the top, be ready for it, get the takedown on the ground. He can get up and has serviceable takedown defense, but I think TJ Brown is much better as far as the grappling and the wrestling specifically. The 14-7 fighter came off of a big loss to Jordan Griffin, guillotine choke while he was on top. So it wasn't a TKO. He was winning that fight with Griffin is a pretty solid striker in there as well, using his wrestling to get it done. It's again, TJ Brown just gets hit on some of these entries. And Chavez is type of fighter that...
We have some breaking news from Mr. Anonymous. Betch was just released from the UFC.
Oh my God. I don't know if I can do this show anymore.
I think we have to stop.
If I don't have an underdog. If I don't have an underdog to go for.
I think we have to stop stream. Shit.
I'm flustered. Betch. Go ahead. Coming off of a 1 loss? What kind of garbage is that?
Are you going to start watching Bellator if she goes there?
No. I'm going to move on. I'm going to move on to another fighter.
All right. Sorry.
Hey, I guess a lot of people like Roxanne Modafferi, right?
How dare you, sir? How can you compare the two?
Sex symbols amongst themselves. Absolutely. So, back to the TJ Brown wrestling effect here. If he doesn't eat a big knee or a big, switch kick to a knee, because Chavez will throw those really sneakily in there, even some good uppercuts. I think Brown runs away with it in the wrestling. I think Chavez is a live dog, though, here. The line's a little bit wide, and again, Brown's chin has been tested a lot for the short career he's had in the UFC. Outside of the UFC, I'm not talking about in it here. So I got a decision, Brown. I'm going to be tentative on this one. Who do you think you're going to be taking out of these two fighters.
I got a decision Brown as well. So far, the first 3 fights to me are a little doo-doo, and I'm going to stay away from them. Right now, it's looking like the kind of Draftkings night where I will only be playing main card.
That's fine. That's a solid breading strategy. If you feel like you have your best reads, why not? Why not?
I like to bet what I know, and I don't know anything about these other people.
It's definitely gambling for a reason, and that's why we love the sport, is that I feel like hockey's the only other sport I've heard that has more upsets than any league, as such as basketball and football. Teams go pretty one-sided, where a knee and an elbow and a dick kick changes the entire dynamic of a fight.
Yeah, or the Access Hollywood bus.
Or very true. Or a finger in the eye. There's all sorts of fun stuff in there. But here on DraftKings, it decided a 2-1 favorite. TJ Brown is 8,800 on DraftKings against Chavez is 7,400. I'm gonna have 10% exposure to Chavez just because I'm saying he has that knockout potential in round 1. But for 8-8 on TJ Brown, that's a little too steep for me with the wrestling, with the amount of takedowns he has to get in there and ground and pound to really take it off. I might have him 10% as well.
I agree.
Who do you think?
If I play either of them at all, it'll be a dog or pass scenario, and I'll stay far, far away. 8-8?
8. I know. For his average 63 points on DraftKings, it has been limited as far as only one fight, but yeah, it's going to be interesting. Then we have one we get a little bit more of tape study on at 115 pounds. We got Felice Herring coming in against Verena Jandiroba. Jandiroba being 15-1, only losing in the UFC, having previous fights out of Invicta, being their champ, beating Inoue in there. The Brazilian is definitely a prospect that people are high on, hence the betting odds right now. Again, Carla Esparza being her decision loss, going back and watching that, takedowns were absolutely crucial in their ground and pound. Jandiroba is a black belt on the ground, and she's shown it in many other fights. The fact that Esparza won that as an underdog, a lot of people thought Jandiroba was going to use that ground game. But again, when you get to the UFC, these girls don't just flop over all the time. You know, they got skills back. So it is telling to it, even though Inoue is a solid competitor. Mallory Martin, though, a submission 8 months ago. I mean, I still am not high on Mallory Martin, so that doesn't tell me much. Jandiroba should have gotten through there. She used the takedown quickly, gotten her striking a lot better. I feel like Jandiroba is starting to really let winging, especially in that Martin fight. She's winging punches because she doesn't care if she gets to the ground, and that makes her that much more dangerous. But it also leaves openings when you do get a little while to give up those positions. And Carla Esparza was able to do it. And if you don't think the Oyama fighter and Felice Herring is going to be ready for something like that, you got another thing coming. The 35-year-old is coming off a 2-fight losing streak, but it's really been the layoffs and injuries. She's been out for over a year, constant ACL, knee tear injuries, on a history of already having bad knees. So Felice Herring's hanging on by a thread in there. But the competition level Felice Herring's been facing, even out of the tough house, has been definitely the highest level. KK, Michelle Waterson, and this is KK in her prime, not the depleted last year worth of KK we've seen. But beating Courtney Casey, Keish in there. Herring has solid Muay Thai, good knees on the inside, not tons of power. She'll kill you by 1,000 cuts, but it's really been her double leg takedown and her grappling that's gotten so much ever since she got with Carla Esparza. It's really been something she's starting to do well. We'll see what happens after these knee surgeries, but flat striking wise, I feel like Felice Herring can keep Jandiroba on the outside with pecking shots and clearly win a 30-27 decision. But if I look at the betting odds, it's like, how the fuck are you picking Herring? She's easily should get taken down and submitted, and I don't think that takedown comes down as easily as a lot of people are seeing it. Herring has solid takedown defense against a lot of other fighters. I know that Waterson took her down a few times, and she's got a good outside knee step takedown. So I just feel like the line's actually super off. People are disrespecting Herring. I think it's a lot of that layoff that people are looking into. But I got Herring in the dirty split. Give me that dirty split. Who are you taking in this one? I got a big underdog here.
Aren't Carla Esparza and Felice besties?
Best friends.
So if somebody has the game plan on how to beat Jandiroba, it's her best friend. Also, the one thing I would say Herring has over Carla Esparza, strength. If Esparza can throw Jandiroba around, Felice has strength. She doesn't have the endurance into the third like Carla has. And I think with KK, she got picked apart on the feet. It was a good version of KK, and I feel like it was KK right off of JJ. So it was like this mad, like maybe KK at her peak, and not to take away from that, but I almost feel like Felice Herring is a lesser Claudia Gadelha. She has all those same kind of skills. She's not mad on the feet. It's okay. She's better on the ground. She's super strong. I hope that I hope that, and Felice should have the better ring IQ. She should have the straighter punches here. I like the dirty split for Herring. I'm going to stay far away from this. I see this low scoring regardless.
I kind of agree with that. I feel like it's going to be rough to be able to pay off that salary at 9,000 for the 2-1 favorite for Jandiroba against Felice Herring, 7,200 on DraftKings. Average points for Jandiroba, 76 against the 66 for Herring. So the value's there on Herring, especially if I got that 30 split. But I think you're absolutely right on this, and where the winner might get 60 points. Yeah. Regardless of the winner.
Yeah, I agree with you.
So it's going to be a close one in there, but the line is off. I could see betting options as well if people are on the Herring side, if they like it, as do I. It's that layoff is something that's got people scared on that one, and rightfully so. So it's why we love the intangibles of MMA, but we have that availability because Herring has the tools to be able to get it done in there. So anything left with that fun one?
Nada.
Then we move on to featherweight, where we've had a profile of 45ers all night long. We got returning Herbert Burns coming in against Daniel Pineda. Pineda not shy out of the UFC. He fought back in 2013, 2014 against some UFC competition, but as of late has been banished over to the Fury, Bellator type of undercard series. He has 2 wins that he's coming off of, but both of them were overturned, due to steroids and all that stuff. So he did pop. He's been clean. He passed the tests. But Pineda, at 35 years old in here, has been a longtime grappler. Solid striking, but it's never even evolved. Even the recent stuff I saw, out of the PFL stuff, he was juiced to the tits. So, of course, he's going to look a little bit extra explosive. Of course, he's going to snatch up that guillotine. But if the UFC did do it right, I think weigh-ins is going to tell us a lot what Pineda brings into it. At 45-35, seems like it's ancient, and we're starting to see that more and more with these older, lighter guys. Their cutoff is so steep because speed is such a factor here. And Hilbert Burns at 11-2 is coming to the UFC on a tear, knocking out the Train Landwehr, which I like the Train here. I got him in as an underdog against, who was it? Freaking the Damage Elkins in there. But Hilbert Burns showing us why he's also super dangerous on the ground. Ultra black belt, his brother getting in there for the belt, last dominating T. Woods recently. But Burns, who his training partners are. What he's doing. That striking looks like it has power in it. And he lets his hands go because he's not afraid of getting to the ground. He's like, cool, take me to the ground, see what happens. And I feel like that's what Pineda has to rely on once he starts losing the striking, when people pressure him a little too much. Pineda kind of just freaks out and will rush, maybe even reactionary takedowns. And against Herbert Burns, it's just getting more into his world. I'm also just fading before I even see the weigh-ins, Pineda, with all of the controversy he's had of late. So I think this is kind of looks like a setup fight for Burns to just kind of pad his record even a little bit more. You got two brothers, one making a title contender. Hilbert Burns is still only 32 years old, arguably the prime, as a lot of people will say, for these fighters. So Herbert Burns, I got a submission round number 1. I could move it to round number 2, but I think it does look like a setup fight. Who do you think are going to be taken out of these 45ers?
I also have Herbert Burns submission round number 1. I kind of, it's begrudgingly. I feel like, and maybe I'm all off, I don't think this guy's the hype train. I just don't think they're putting him up against any competition. And it makes me a little infuriated. Like, I don't want to pick him. It's begrudging that I pick him. So Burns submission round 1, but he's a guy that I'm just waiting for the right fight, because anyone that has the right defense against submissions, then, or they can just stand up again. I don't love what I see from Herbert Burns, and I should, because it's all wins, but it's just something that I'm looking at in his game that just seems stagnant.
I thought the train landwear, which he showed it, I feel like even in that grappling match with Elkins there, well, somewhat. But I thought the train was going to be able to do that, and that's where Burns was like, whoa, he got it done against somebody who's notoriously got a solid chin in there. So on DraftKings, you're going to end up having to pay $8,900 for the 3-1 favorite Herbert Burns against Pineda, $7,300. This is actually somebody that I'm going to be trying to pay up for when I have some of those 7,600 underdogs. Felice Herrings, this is the value that I'm going to be trying to get, because this is also one of those locks. I feel like I need to remember not everything's a lock in the UFC, so I got to go like 70% up there. But I like Herbert.
If I play any undercard at all, which I might do like 1 or 2, I don't see Herbert Burns not being on it. That would be ridiculous.
Makes absolute sense in there. Then we move on to the headlining preliminary bout at 115 pounds. We have Viviana Souza coming in against Ashley Yoder. This is a pretty close one as far as the betting lines are. These ladies are pretty much getting the split treatment here, but it looks like Souza's starting to pull away as far as the betting odds. The 7-5 Yoder is coming in off of a loss 9 months ago to Randa Marcos in a split decision. Prior to that, beating Kondo Cooper in a decision. She's a decision master, is Yoder. She knows how to just keep it striking just enough she can get back to her feet, but she doesn't really do much, especially once she gets onto the ground. She can just kind of get stuck on her back, where Souza here being 13-2, losing to Van Buren in a decision a year ago, that doesn't look so bad, even though a lot of people were high on Van Buren or kind of discrediting her loss to Tisha. I don't think it's that bad. I think Van Buren's going to prove to be a little bit tougher. She beat Froda in there in a dirty split as well. Alex Chambers, which has never been UFC caliber, but having some Invicta fights in there as well. Souza crashes into the takedowns, gets it down, and just turns it into a grinding affair. That's pretty much her game plan. She likes to get it to the ground so she can get arm bars. Yoder's proven against better fighters, Dern alike, on the ground, that she's not going to get submitted. So this has a dirty split to me written all over it, but I do think Souza gets more takedowns and is just a little more active overall. But what I mean by dirty split, I guess, in this one is that the line is still off. I don't see how you could be that favored at -160 now for Souza, even though she has a little bit of the clearer path. This is, I guess it's just been steamed up because it did open a little closer, but -135 I'd be more comfortable with than the almost 2-1 favorite against Yoder. Disgusting fight, low scorer if there's no finish here. Who do you think you're taking in this one? Give me Souza decision.
Yoder's one of those people like Randa Marcos, though, where she stagnates a fight. Like, it just makes it stagnant. It makes it boring. And if people get frustrated with that, it's not that she takes advantage. She'll get that takedown the last 15, 20 seconds of every fucking round and just make it close enough that you forget about things. And she has a good ring IQ, or she's good at listening to her corner. I don't know what happens in there, but it's just enough to eke out these things that never seem like Yoder should be eking out these things. I have Souza's decision, but Not only do I think it'll be a low score, if somebody is gonna if you went heavy in the paint on Sousa and you felt like she was your girl, Yoder will ruin your night.
Absolutely. That's what I'm saying as well. I feel like the line's starting to get a little crazy here, and it's not it's not the most exciting of reasons to be like I'm on an underdog, because it's not. As you're saying, it's gonna be a slime fest. It's gonna be a drag out just up against the fence type of a fight.
Yeah, so it's like everyone that's gonna get super hype on Sousa when she becomes a 2-1 favorite and people start riding her on DraftKings. I think stay away from that.
I
Like,
agree with that. On DraftKings, you're going to end up paying 8,600 for Souza against Yoder 7,600. A big fat stay away all over. Again, the winner's going to get 60 points. Loser in that 30, 40 point range.
I agree with you.
So
We are gonna
definitely
get into the main card. Do you want to drop it?
Right.
The business. Okay, for anyone watching stream, we will be right back. You don't have to go anywhere. We're not resetting the stream. So see you in a second.
Welcome back to the main card, now known as Fight Pig Championship Season 2. We coming for that belt. If you haven't heard, if you've been living under a rock, you know we're coming after a belt. Amongst many other podcasters, we're adding quite a few opponents this season for no holds bars. They've adjusted some of the rules, but it's only to try to handicap some of the best handicappers in the game. Latb coming in strong, taking 2 and 3 this year. Short-sightedness let us lose it, but hey, we got nothing but up to look at and a lot of below that's gonna stay down there.
I'm famous for choking under pressure. I would have been better as third place and had like 50 points to gain, and I would have gotten a perfect card. Second place, too close. So this year I'm going to strive for a comfortable 4th and 3rd all the way through until the final 2 weeks. I hope that you're in 1st.
We definitely are going to make a hard run at it. It definitely adds a little bit more, making a game within the game, because Draftkings is also going live hard. We also been getting them captain lineups that have been making it a little more interesting in there. Know what you don't do? You don't put Holtzman as your captain everywhere, because then your night's ruined.
Can I tell you, my card of Kunitskaya as the captain did way better than my card as Holtzman as the captain.
That it did. So here in the Fight Pig Championships, this one's going to get started off with a battle of legends here at 155 pounds. We got Jim Miller coming in against, from hell, Vince Hushell, somebody who's made us a lot of money here at Latb, cashing them fat sacks against, who was it? Roosevelt Roberts a year ago in that decision win. Roberts having a lot of hype. Jim Miller showing him the same, but really getting him out of there a whole lot quicker. But here, Pushell's only 12 and 2, longtime veteran of the UFC, injury prone. He has his most recent loss against Gregor Gillespie, where he was arm triangled, but he was really out wrestled a lot before that. And Vince Pushell really relies on his wrestling to grind out fights. And in his previous fight before that earlier, the same thing happened to Pushell. When you out wrestle Vince Pushell, he just kind of doesn't have a plan B or C and will give up the fight. Not give up. He won't tap. He'll fight all the way through, but he won't have answers for it here. And against the legend Jim Miller, getting up there with some of the most fights, most wins in the UFC ever, the 32 and 14 fighters, coming off of a big win against Roberts as a big underdog as well. Submission armbar a month ago. Miller, we thought, has been teetering on holding on to a contract for a while. He's talked about that retirement, but once he again got his life together after finding out he had Lyme's, he's corrected a lot of that shit. He's looked really good in there and really filled out muscularly as well. Pushell is a taller fighter here, but I actually think that Jim Miller is going to look like the bigger guy at weigh-ins in general. He's just going to look a lot stronger. But here, Pushell has to get it to the ground where Jim Miller eats and breathes Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, long-time black belt as well. Jim Miller's proven he can go in there and get into 15-minute wrestling matches with fighters, but also submit them. So he's got that. And in the striking-wise, Pushell's never been that good. He's just turned it into more of a grind, and that was Jim Miller's game with Lyme disease, was just grind you out. So I'm surprised that it's a coin flip of a fight. It is minus 110, minus 110. I think the lines are a little bit different now at like minus 115, plus 105 for either fighter. But I got Jim Miller everywhere here. I'm actually surprised so many people have been coming in with Pushell. Feel like everything Pushell does, but better and with way more finishing potential, not only striking, but and submissions. So Pushell can only win a decision in my point of view here.
I totally agree. He would have to catch Jim Miller with something crazy to buckle him. Jim Miller is one of those guys at his age that if something does hurt him enough, like he doesn't try to fight out of it. He's just like done and done. But I think Jim Miller's better on the ground here. I think he's stronger on the ground, and I actually think he's better on the feet. It's weird to think he's the younger guy. So if age was the worry, it's not really here. I got Jim Miller a submission round 2, which maybe is a little too much respect for Michelle if he's going to go right in for it. I'm thinking he's going to try to stay on the feet for a little while and respect Jim Miller's ground game a little bit. I have round 2. I could move it to round 1 very easily, and I agree with you. This might be the deepest into a fight card that we've gone where we have so many of the same picks, maybe all of them.
Interesting. I have submission round number 2 right now. I could move it to 1 as well for Jim Miller. So interesting. Usually, you know what that means. Put a bet on it. So that's what I'm going to do. Submission prop number 2 for Jim Miller in that one. On Draftkings, you're going to end up paying $8,300 for Jim Miller against $7,900. This is a value play all day on Jim Miller. I feel like any other fight card, he'd be a $8,900 easy.
I agree.
But again, he was under estimated against that Roberts fight as well. So Jim Miller, somebody I'm going to be looking to lock into that 50% of my lineups. I think I'm going to have a good amount of exposure.
If I would have asked you like a year ago, maybe not a year ago, we all kind of saw, maybe even, but a year, definitely 2 years ago. It's so weird to think if I would have said, one of these fighters are going to be completely off your list where you almost wonder if there's a fight they have left to win in the UFC. And one of these fighters, you'll think, oh, they got tons of fights left to win. If I said Cowboy and Jim Miller, you would have thought 2 years ago, you would have been like, yeah, I know, it's just crazy to think. Like, I remember counting Jim Miller off and being like, man, Jim Miller's done. And we've seen this resurrection of him. And you and I have been lucky enough to see him in person. But he's just looked so amazing out there. And, you know, now that I'm saying it aloud, this is the longest we've gone, or at least since I've been watching fights that I haven't seen Cowboy in there. I hope we get some kind of resurgence in Cowboy like Jim Miller.
Oh, it's definitely, he's been over at that BMF range since that, when we see him, January was the longest, so it's been like 5 months since his nose got rearranged by that shoulder. But I like what you're saying. I hope he's got a couple good ones left in him, and that's it for him. But another couple guys that I hope have quite a few fights left at 135 pounds, we got Dodson coming in against Mirab Davishvili in a fight of the night contender. I mean, stylistically, this is a wet dream. This is so much fun. It is going to get sticky in there. Durab Malishvili comes in with a heavy takedown acumen, 11-4 in the UFC, and all 4 of those fights were controversial. Even though one of them, they wasn't out, he was just pretending he was on a bicycle for a good 2 minutes in a guillotine. So that one you can write off. The split decisions he's had as well in here have just been so close. Coming off of a 4-fight winning streak, beating Terrion Ware, Brad Katona, Kelly, and Gustavo Lopez as of late a month ago. Davishvili, we know what we're getting in here. A little bit wild with the striking, not tons of power, but a heavy takedown game. He's gotten multiple fights where he's had over 10 takedowns against Frankie Sains, where he lost the controversial split decision. Initially looking at the stats for that, I'm like, how did Mirab lose? He had 20 strikes more than Sains, and he had 11 takedowns to 0 with passes. But it's because Frankie Sains hurt Mirab Davishvili in every round. Dropped him on his butt for a split second. Davishvili recovered well, got up, and won the rest of the round. But a lot of judges will say that's a 10-8 round the other way when you get knocked down regardless. So I think, though, it was bad judging. Davishvili made that up, but that's the window it let me see in there. And we've seen it against other fighters. Davishvili will eat a hard fight, keep just good movement, keep circling out, and keep that pressure on. And against John Dodson, he's a 21-11 fighter, getting wins over TJ Dillashaw back in the day. Last winning against Nathaniel Wood, which we had here on Latb, telling you guys that little overhand right for the 35-year-old still got power in it. He's just started to finally slow down a little bit, losing to Peter Yan in a decision. losing to Rivera in a decision, beating Munoz in a split, losing to Marias in a split decision. John Dodson comes in with lateral movement, circles the entire time just to line up that right hand. Solid takedown defense. He's at Jackson Wink, but I feel like he moved even his last camp. He's been showing the throw a little bit in there, but Dodson really, as we were saying with almost Kunitskaya, he has a way to muck up fights. He has a way to just make them look bad, make his opponents look bad, and really slow them down. He has some of the best takedown defense Davishvili's seen in there, and that's where I think this is really interesting because Dodson really does have some of the better takedown defense all the way around, and only have the ultimate elite fighters been able to take down Dodson and keep him down. And here Davishvili's going to have his hands full. With that, I think it's a fun bet on Dodson for maybe that overhand right knockout, but I do see Davishvili just keeping such pressure on Dodson, and at his age, with not only have we seen him slow down a little bit, we've seen that cardio really start to get taxed in the later rounds. I feel Davishvili runs away with a decision here. Could even be a split, but I do like Davishvili. Give me the -190 favorite. Who do you think are going to be taken in this one?
I was feeling very comfortable about my pick with Davishvili. But like you're saying with John Dodson, even with his last fight, if he can catch Nathaniel Wood, I almost feel like Davishvili is just a little better than Nathaniel Wood. Is that crazy for me to say? That he's not in the same caliber necessarily as John Dodson. Maybe the same caliber as almost 36-year-old John Dodson. But then after if John Dodson can catch Mirab and put him on his ass like that, and Mirab goes forward with his hands down a lot, just goes forward. John Dodson's such a counter striker, and he's a counter striker with great takedown defense. If Mirab can get put on his ass by Sainz, he can get put on his ass by John Dodson. So then it makes me right up in the air where it's like, I didn't even think about that until you were first doing your breakdown. I was so comfortable in my Davishvili pick. And then once you started pointing it out and I started like, you are right. I always underestimate John Dodson. And in a weird way, Davishvili, like so many things that I like about him are things that are not good as John Dodson, how he does them when he's doing them good. So I don't know. It seems like an easy pick to say Davishvili, but I want to say Dodson ekes out the nastiest, dirty split decision with his
I could see that.
bullshit.
Legitimately.
If he could put him on his ass twice, John Dodson is smarter to know what to do with it, and he has more power than Sainz. I think he can hold him down. I just think it's such a different fighting style than anyone I can recall Davishvili going against. It's so frustrating. I can even picture Davishvili standing in the middle of the ring like, fight me, because John Dodson seems like he's always going backward, but he's just so great at popping you off that back foot. And so because Davishvili he relies on his forward pressure, it almost puts him in more harm's way with the fight against a style that I normally hate in John Dodson, but it's like, this is the kind of fighter who needs to be there to make John Dodson look exciting. It's like that constant forward pressure. I'm going to go with, I think Davishvili will recover well. I don't think Dodson, he is a decision guy to me. I do think he has just as good of cardio as Davishvili, so I'm not even worried about that, like grinding him out, like, and getting tired. I think Dodson, with his ring IQ, he doesn't tend to get emotional in there. Davishvili seems like, I want to fight, like he gets so amped. And John Dodson will counter off that, and he'll talk shit, and he'll do his little shit. I just think this is a fight that could unravel Davishvili, and John Dodson knows it, and Jackson Wink knows it. So give me Dodson by a nasty, I hate that this is Fight Big Championship, nasty, dirty decision.
I absolutely agree. Like I'm saying, I got Davishvili split decision. When I sat back and look at the fights, it's definitely the biggest step up in competition for Davishvili. Like a lot of his opponents, they're serviceable, but they're not John Dodson. Casey Kenny, I could see get up there. The fact that he tired out Casey Kenny was a little bit in there, but Brad Katona, no. Terry Ware's not in the UFC. Gustavo Lopez was a replacement. So again, you're not crazy for taking a shot on Dodson by any means whatsoever.
And I'm not just sticking up for Casey Kinney here as a Casey Kinney fan, but Casey Kinney looked like shit in that fight. His body looked like shit. He looked off. Like, I would almost wonder if I was the type of person that watched those Ariel Helwani fight or shows afterward where they interview the fighter, if he'd be like, I was off that night going in. He didn't look right. Not to make an excuse that it still wouldn't have gone the exact same way. John Dodson's not that dude. It's so weird. I can see the frustration build on Davishvili the whole time. He's not going to get off those kind of punches because John Dodson is so fast with the head movement. So it's like all the things that you would normally stack Davishvili up, he's not going to get those kind of takedowns on John Dodson. He's not going to – it's like all the things that make him powerful. John Dodson, that's what his fight style is built to go against guys like that. I don't know.
Right. So a piece of information that when we were chatting about all this and just histories, what came to mind that I didn't talk about the Jim Miller-Vince Pichel fight. Vince Pichel actually had hip surgery before this fight, his layoff. So I think that also affects my bet. But either way,
I'm glad you went back to that. Do you think Jim Miller, I don't know, was he at a catch weight his last fight for 160, or do you think he's going to weigh in heavy again?
I think he's gonna. I think he'll make weight now that he knows that he had, because he did have about 3 to 4 weeks to get ready for this one. It wasn't about a week compared to his last one. But back to the Davishvili DraftKings line, you're going to end up paying $8,700 against John Dodson $7,500 in a dirty split. The value's all over Dodson there. I think I'm going to go 10-10 for this one. I'm going to have exposure to it just because Davishvili can average crazy amounts if he gets those takedowns going. If he gets 5 or 6 in there, that's easily getting up in that 80-90 range.
Do you see that happening? Does Dodson have shitty takedown defense?
No, he has great takedown defense. But if Dodson starts to wear out, Davishvili can start to get those takedowns going quickly. And
I can't even recall a Dodson fight of him wearing out.
Dodson will get taken down though and get right back up, which will just allow more takedowns to happen, which just gives me a more inflated score. But like I'm saying, 10% I'm going to be putting on Dodson as well because he has that flash knockout potential, and he can, if he didn't show you as of late, do it to any of these young guys. So don't sleep on John Dodson anytime. I'm hoping we get interference by one of the greasiest pickers I've ever met in my entire life.
Well, I was going to say, he has his picks of how he does it for his breakdown. I think one part would be like, okay, what fight do you want to know, Evil Twins? You know, this would be the fight that I would be most curious so far, because it's also the first one we split on of the night. But I'm interested in where he sees this fight going. If he doesn't mention anything about it, it would be like my, like, what do you think about this one? But if he doesn't come on any,
Speaking of the evil one himself, again, that mullet was actually him 15 years ago before he got a liposuction. Oh, Evil Twin, hello.
Howdy, everybody. How's
hello,
it going?
hello. Welcome back to the stream. We were talking about your mullet that you used to have.
I used to have a mullet. Really?
Oh yeah, wasn't that selfie that you took of yourself? The little emoji there.
He said that you used to call it Multnomah Falls.
Mullet man?
Yeah, that's
like
that. I was actually
Falls.
I was mullet man in a previous life. Absolutely.
Just look that up in the what is that Pride magazine? You'll know what you're talking about. You'll find it.
Bears.
You're oddly familiar.
Bears of the Northwest.
They like them hairy.
All right, so what I didn't listen to any of the show, like I never do, because it's horrible. I'm not sure where you guys were in breaking down.
So we were actually getting
fights.
into our fight pick championships. We just talked about John Dodson versus Mirab Davishvili. We're split on it. I'm thinking it's a lot closer of a line than they have it. John Dodson still got that little overhand, right? But Davishvili, if he gets that takedown game going, I mean, it's going to be a hard one for John Dodson, but the line's off. The line's off. John Dodson's a way liver dog.
Oh,
Shane's picking him
100%.
outright.
100% agree that Dodson is a live dog in this position. Davashili's got a suspect chin, and John Dodson, I mean, is absolutely the guy to point that out. Davashili also overextends on his grappling interchanges, and I mean, what worse than to catch a flying knee that John Dodson loves to throw, or a power straight. I mean, Dodson's wrestling credentials are there to keep it standing, and his explosiveness is there to absolutely shut off the lights. So I agree with that. It is not part of the value bets I'll be giving you tonight, but yeah, I've got John Dodson absolutely in that. And there was a lot of underdogs on this card, a lot of money I think to be made. So whenever you guys want, you let me know. I'll give you the premier picks that I should be charging for, but unfortunately I don't, because I'm trying to do charity work and giving you guys the best deal possible, which is free. It's actually court ordered. So
you make enough
I
stacks.
was about to say it.
You make
I was about
enough
to say
stacks.
it's court ordered. Why do you think he's known as Evil Twin?
Yeah,
Just look up the John Jones of the what is that? New Mexico. Yeah, Evil Twins laced in with all that cartel out there.
I've never been to New
JBJ.
Mexico in my life.
The new Mexican cartel.
Yeah, they would say that. They would say that.
Wait, weren't you the guy that was that was looked up by the feds?
So
Yeah, weren't you? Didn't the feds like allow you not to get a background check because you were currently incarcerated in Texas or some crap?
that was actually a misidentification, and I got a $50 stipend from a lawsuit for that company because they got my dang name wrong. They mixed it up with some criminal's name. Yeah,
You are
so
a
I
criminal. Look at
I am
that soul
not,
patch. That
actually.
soul
I
patch
am
is
not.
criminal. That flavor saver should be considered criminal.
Be hating for a reason. So a fun one that we were talking about earlier, I think a lot of people are also underestimating, as in John Dodson. We were talking about Felice Herring in there.
Oh, don't you dare!
Hey,
Hey, what? Like, I gave you my picks. I gave you my picks before the show. You're using them. I told you there was money to be made here. She's a plus 240 underdog up against the one-eyed bandit. I don't know if she's looking at me or the other person in the other room. Felice Herrig. Oh my goodness! You see, you got to let me give you the value bets, because all you're doing is repeating the card that I already sent you. All right.
Stop
Starting
sending
strong.
them. Stop sending
right-
them the card. Save it.
He's not sending me the card.
I have to stop sending them. I've been giving
Okay.
you guys
He's not
the
gonna
inside
change
track.
his name.
So, absolutely, it's opening right out the gate for the Cormier Miocic fight is Felice Herrig. These are value bets, and I'll give you my wild card. But as it stands, like I just stated, Felice Herrig is my first pick for the night at a plus 240. She has the reach advantage by 1 inch. She has the significant striking advantage by a plus 2.56. She also has considerably more fights in the UFC with UFC caliber fighters, previous contenders. She does give up a minus strike defense at a minus 8%. She also gives up the takedown accuracy. She's not as accurate as her opponent, but she does have a plus 26% takedown defense. I mean, she has a considerably better takedown defense. Now, this is just apples for apples comparison compared to their counterparts, not correct correlations to how they're going to compete. So the math is just based off of how many fights were fought in conjunction to each other in the UFC based off of fight metrics. And absolutely, the only untangible is Felice has been out for a better part of a year. And that's a variable that definitely needs to be considered. But she has fought premier high-level grapplers and strikers. And that's a Felice. You gotta put at that price range. I think the lines are drastically off. I could see her being at a disadvantage at maybe a plus 150. Okay, I'll give her to that because of the inactivity. Plus 240? No, I got to put money on that.
Do you think ring rust is less without an audience?
Whew, that's a good question. I don't know that I've ever really considered it. Off the top of my head, I honestly, ring rust, that's not a bad idea. Ring rust, I know, is going to be drastically impacted by the feel of a crowd, the emotion, the getting back in there. A lot of guys have been talking about the lack of crowd actually being settling because that actually feels like just another sparring session, another training session.
So another training session. Do you think Carla Esparza has anything to do with this fight camp for Felice Herring coming up?
Absolutely. Carla Esparza has a win over Felice Herring. I don't even know how to pronounce the lady's name. I've already proven.
Cuttlefish.
Jackie what?
Jade Roba.
Jackass, broke ass, whatever her name is, I don't know. I can't see. I can't look at her. She's good for her, but God, people's eyes, they drive me crazy.
Evil twin for a reason, ladies and gentlemen.
She is good periphery. Twin. It's hard to get a punch on her.
How do you feel about chameleons? You don't like those either?
Hell no, you can't be trusted. If you can't look me straight in my eyes, I can't trust you.
So, what other value bets do you have for this fight card, this pay-per-view over the weekend? Are you paying for this pay-per-view?
Absolutely, I'm paying for this pay-per-view. What do you think? I'd be illegally streaming it somewhere? Come on.
Yes.
Come on.
Evil twin for a reason.
Yeah, would I lie to you when I say this?
You got that J&G Aroba.
Exactly.
We're getting together with some buddies and family members, which you're not a part of. So yeah, we're getting these. My next value bet is Jim Miller versus Vince Pichel. Jim Miller is coming in as a plus 100 even money. I don't know if it's swayed. That was as of yesterday.
It has 105 plus 105 Jim Miller.
Oh, okay. So it looks like he's dropped a little bit, which is crazy because Vince Pichel is super inactive. And Jim Miller is quite the opposite. I mean, I think he's fought 4 or 5 times in between Vince Pichel's last bout, and he's been doing well as of that. So another ring rust assessment, I guess. I don't know how it's going to fare, but give you some of the stats. Jim Miller is going to be at a 1-inch reach disadvantage. He's also going to be at a minus 0.48, so less than half of a strike disadvantage. He is going to have the striking defense advantage of plus 3%. He will give up 19%, so a minus 19% takedown accuracy disadvantage. Vince Pichel tends to finish his takedowns 19% better. But this is the big part. So Vince Pichel will lean on his grappling, more of a collegiate wrestling type of background. But Jim Miller's takedown defense is a plus 22% takedown defense advantage. So if Vince Pichel, not necessarily is like an all-out grappler when it comes to collegiate wrestling, but his wins that come out of decision tend to be because he takes you down, holds you down. Well, I mean, Jim Miller, we all, I think, can agree is confident on the ground. But on top of that, if he wants to keep it standing, he has this takedown defense advantage to keep it standing. At a even money, Jim Miller's regular activity to Vince Pichel's lack of activity, and Vince Pichel actually has got him by a year. He's a year older and more inactive.
And the competition's dramatically different. Jim Miller's fighting Dustin Poirier's, Hookers, Barbosas, he's fighting just the top 10 in the UFC and finally stepping down, where Pichel has fought Roosevelt Roberts, are some of his biggest wins in there. It's just been a dramatic different level of competition in my point of view. But do you know why Pichel was out for so long recently? I just actually brought it up.
Apparently he was fighting hookers, so yeah, I think he's probably got charges.
At least we're not talking about your life biography right now, but he actually was in a car wreck and had to have hip surgery.
Oh, fantastic! Even more. I mean, that's I have no ill will towards Vince Pichel, and I actually have made some money off Vince Pichel. But right now, in this position as it stands, there's way too much upside on Jim Miller for the lines.
Agree.
The lines to be this close for this card or to be this skewed. It's like they're not even close. They're skewed. I think whoever put this together, as far as put out lines, was way off because I'm like, God, they're so out of the park, which is going to lead me into my last value, not my wild card, but my last value, and it's going to be none other than the daddest man on the planet, your boy, Daniel Cormier, DC. He is a minus 120. Again, near even pick 'em bout.
Minus 115 currently.
Okay, so currently, again, this was based off of just yesterday. So the lines are moving, like you're seeing. I mean, not a whole bunch of movement, but still, there's the public is making a move, and it's only going to get more drastic as it gets closer to fight day. Daniel Cormier is giving up a minus 8-inch reach advantage. He is giving up a minus 0.7. So again, just a little over half of a strike disadvantage, significant strikes landed per minute. And then him and Miocic share the same strike defense, so that cancels out at 0. Where he has the advantage is his takedown accuracy. He is 7% better on his takedown accuracy. On top of that, he has a takedown defense advantage of plus 4%. Mind you, this is a trilogy. With those numbers there, it's just a way to validate what I've based my pick on. But what I'm really basing this pick on is Daniel Cormier working Stipe Miocic in his second fight, and unfortunately gassing himself before getting finished. But in no way, shape, or form was Miocic winning the first 3 rounds in that second bout. Daniel Cormier, unfortunately, I think made the fatal mistake of going for the finish when he didn't need to, when he had 3 rounds secured, and everybody in his corner, everybody watching is going, DC, chill. And DC's going, you know what, I'm gonna make a statement. And Miocic was able to survive, and he came back, and good on Miocic. But if the last 2 fights are indicative of the third, is that DC came out hot both times, and Miocic had no answer for it until DC defeated himself by blowing his gas tank.
All right, and we haven't got to that one yet, but the last wild card, as you like to call it.
Right. So my last wild card pick is, I know this was Emmanuel's favorite, and I mean, it's a hype train derailment. I'm not super sold. If you haven't figured out, just based on that, this individual's coming in at a plus 245 underdog. And you haven't gotten to it, because if you haven't gotten to DC, it's your boy
Chito
Marlin Vera at a plus 245. He is giving up a minus 1.5 reach. He is giving up a significant strike advantage of minus 3.16. So that is a little startling, because he's giving up 3 strikes to his every one. So that is concerning. He also is giving up the strike defense of a minus 114, or excuse me, a minus 14% strike defense. So he's not as offensive, and he takes more damage. Concerning. It is concerning. And I'll get to why I'm still going with the wildcard Chito Vera. takedown accuracy, he has a disadvantage of 8% on his takedown accuracy, and his takedown defense, though, is a plus 8%. So the only thing that favors Chito Vera, based off of the statistics that I'm giving you guys, or the validations that I'm giving you, is his takedown defense, which O'Malley has shown in his last 2 fights that it doesn't matter whether or not he takes you down because he puts you away. Now, the reason I'm going with Chito Vera is because I believe that Chito Vera is a top 5 competitor in the weight division. O'Malley is on a hype train, absolutely. But Andre Soccer Mom, if his fight IQ was any better, would have beat Sean O'Malley when Sean O'Malley broke his own foot. O'Malley has shown that he can finish guys, sure, but he's finishing guys that are proven to be finished. Chito Vera is not that guy. Chito Vera has gone up against, I believe, tougher opponents and shown that through gritty heart and determination, when you think Chito's out is when he's at his most dangerous. Not because he's going to do something astounding and flashy and take you out, which he's capable of doing, but more than anything is he stays there and he breaks his opponent's will by simply not succumbing to their onslaught. He figures out a way, he makes the right adjustment, and he proves. And if O'Malley can do what he's done to his last 2 opponents to Chito Vera, I will buy into the hype train. I will do what I must to eat these words that I'm saying right now. But I don't believe Vera is anywhere of the caliber that O'Malley has been given to him. I will say that Teco, I was high on Teco when O'Malley took him out, and he showed that he can be there. But Chito Vera is a completely different beast than a Teco, than a Quinones. He is all-around mixed martial artist on the ground with the takedowns, with his striking, with his sheer tenacity, and his will. I think Chito Vera's less appreciated attribute is his heart and willingness just to keep coming. He doesn't get shut down. And right when you think he's out or when he's losing, he has the ability to flip the switch, not go crazy, but to stay in there. And guys see that, they will, because they go, I don't know what to do. And that is my wild card pick for the night.
Ooh. If all those came through,
good one.
It would probably be like plus 5,000 if you made a crazy parlay like that. But I can see them all actually happening this week.
Like I said, the lines are definitely they don't make sense to me this week, and maybe I'm the one that's wrong. Likely, I'm the one that's wrong.
I don't know, because even if you look at JDS, I think that's a weird bullshit underdog.
Super close fight.
There's just a bunch of like weird hype trains that haven't ever. It's like they're skipping 2 rungs in the ladder and haven't accomplished anything to get there. So I think it's a hype train derailment night.
I totally agree on the JDS pick. I got JDS by decision. It is totally reasonable. If you guys haven't seen, right after these, I go right on Twitter and I throw up Latb and I give you all the picks. So I put my money where my mouth is. I'm out here to give your audience the best they can get for free off me, because I like to spread the wealth. And last week's showing, not my best. I still went 2 out of 3 on my value bets. I still have not hit a wild card, but mind you, they're wild cards for a reason. When they hit, they're gonna hit big and they're gonna hit well. This card is I think it's a fun card to watch, but I think the betting odds are favorable for the risk taker for sure.
I agree. How do they follow you on Twitch or Twitter?
My Twitter handle, is it a handle? I don't know. I'm not a tweeter.
You are.
I'm getting familiar with it. Well, I'm getting familiar. I do technical stuff, but it's not based around social media.
You've been tweeting your pants since we were kids.
No, I'd put your pants on and tweet all over them and then give you your pants back.
You still tweeted your fans. You still tweeted your fans.
You still tweeted twat.
Oh. So it is 1-1. So IZZWON and then the number 1. I'm trying to change that to Evil Twin. I'm not sure how to do that yet, but I'm gonna try to get that up there. And again, I'll just be attaching Latb and Zoltanite, and anybody that wants to use them is welcome to. You make any money, I think I deserve a 10% fee, but whatever. If you lose any money, hit up Latb. They'll refund you your full amount, no problem.
We've all agreed on a lot of underdogs. I think it's a money-making weekend.
Well, I'll shoot you guys my my overall picks for the evening. And Emmanuel, congratulations! You had a winning card comparable to Weak Neck and myself last week.
Oh, thank you.
That's 1 for 5. Good odds. You should totally be in the prediction business.
Absolutely am. It's turning around quickly. We got off on a good step. Fight Pick Championships is going to start off on a good step. This one now. You don't know anything about that. You can't even handle the belt. So it's going to be something to get into. Either way, thank you for the picks and predictions. It does spice it up a little in here to have such an omnipotent, omniscient poltergeist type of an appearance.
You're just saying words at this point. You don't even understand what you're saying.
You said like God, how like God lives forever. He's all knowing and always was omnipotent. You just called him deified. You deified him.
Yeah, like Satan.
Oh, my goodness. You literally just say words that you've heard somewhere. You have no comprehension of your vocabulary.
I watch CSI, SVU, and NY. And
the only thing you're good at picking is your butt and your nose in that order.
That's a good point.
So I'll leave you with that, guys. I'll throw the picks up. Good luck, and I can't wait to see this card this weekend. Take it easy, guys.
See you next fight card.
Definitely the evil one for a reason. Doesn't know when to let go. So we definitely were talking about this Junior Dos Santos Rosenstrike fight. As we're saying right now, minus 135, plus 115 for Junior Dos Santos. Rosenstrike being a favorite here, coming off of a finish against Ngannou in about 20 seconds. Prior to that, he got that finish over Overeem where he lost all 5 rounds, beating Albini in there. But big boy in there, Biggie boy, is definitely fairly fresh off of that knockout. He went out, but I don't know if he was completely out. He was probably completely out. But JDS hasn't looked good of late either at 21-7, coming off of a 2-fight losing streak to Curtis Blades 6 months ago and Francis Ngannou. The Blades KO came on the ground with a lot of that wrestling. Rosenstrike isn't going to do that. This is going to be a striker's delight. Rosenstrike, the Dutch kickboxer, I know he reps Suriname, but he trained with Ernesto Hoost, all those guys. So that's where he gets his legit credentials in there. And Junior Dos Santos is coming with great boxing, hard overhand right, good uppercuts to the body. It's just been in his former belt days. He has his best fights behind him. Feel like he's started to get figured out. And at 36, it's not necessarily old for heavyweight, but he's just worn and is starting to wear the miles pretty bad in there. A lot of shots that he could walk through back in the day feel like they just hurt him a lot more. And I'm fading that Rosenstrike chin, but I think this is a fight you have to have exposure on both sides on, because I think either one of these guys is live for the knockout in the first 2 rounds. Easy, even for all 3 rounds. But, I mean, I feel like this is a finish one of these guys. I'm going Rosenstruck right now. I think he's got a little bit better of a chin, even though Ngannou got him out of there too. So, I'm going to go 10 and 10% on this one. Have exposure on both sides.
Gosh,
super
I'm so
close
nervous.
Fight.
Right now I have Dos Santos. I see him a little better everywhere, I do see Rosenstrike having the cleaner, more power. I just think Dos Santos, the way Ngannou was getting everyone out of there, it's just a sloppy mess coming forward that you can't stop because it's so strong, and he got both of them out there the same way, so it's kind of a hard fight to compare them on.
Right.
But the Curtis Blades fight, in that predicament for Dos Santos with Rosenstruck, I see Dos Santos stronger in that clinch than Rosenstruck. So I think where Curtis Blades would have one-ups, it's the complete opposite game. Curtis Blades can stay on his feet because he's not worried about getting taken down, where Rosenstruck doesn't want to go down at all. I imagine he's a wet fish down there. All of his last fights, I know a wet fish, wait, a cold fish, a frozen fish. All of his last fights were all him versus strikers. We didn't have to worry about him versus somebody that's a little more well-rounded, and I think Dos Santos is that guy. I have Dos Santos' decision right now. I think he can get him down and kind of hold him there, wear him out a little bit. I think he can get leg kicks in the first round. Grind him out. I think he's going to be a little better everywhere. I only give Rosenstruck the flash knockout, so I see where you're like, oh, I'm going to pepper him in there maybe someplace, but I got Dos Santos' decision right now. I see what you're saying. The better chin is Rosenstruck's all day, and once the guys get into heavyweight, you kind of always just have to go with the guy with the better chin. I just don't see Rosenstruck as an all-well-rounded guy. I just think he's kind of, I don't know, even with Alistair Overeem in there, Alistair at the end of his tenure, and Alistair beat him from pillar to post the entire fight until now. Thinking back, you always said that fight shouldn't have been stopped, and I always argued that. But now thinking back, that fight shouldn't have been stopped for a split lip. You're so right.
Yeah,
and
my back says otherwise.
I know, but you're just, guys injure themselves and get wide open cuts all the time inside the UFC.
Sure. I think it's probably right. I mean, it was crazy, but there's all sorts of fun cards. An intangible that we didn't talk about much was the judging. It has been special lately in Nevada, but we are also in a smaller ring. We're in a smaller Apex ring, which causes a lot more finishes. It's just been proven time and time again. People just clash a little bit harder in there. And for heavyweights, that's why I think you got to have exposure to either one of these guys. You can't stack this one, but one of these guys is going to be on the winning lineup. On DraftKings, Rosenstrike, the slight favorite, is 8,400 against Dos Santos is 7,800. On average, Rosenstrike has 79 points to Dos Santos is 77.
Shit. After you said the smaller ring, and if it just comes in hot, Rosenstruck gets that all day. All day. If it comes in hot, like uncalculated, 25 foot, just a lot of pressure and intense, I think he gets that. But also, that being said, it makes me want to think JDS could get that shot too. I think JDS has the better, cleaner boxing here. I know Rosenstrike is a kickboxer, but I just think the better hands are Dos Santos. He can catch that just as well, especially if he comes up for a high kick, which Rosenstrike is known to do. I think he can come across with like a straight right and catch him. That chin though is just so well. He's gonna have to swarm well. Gosh, I'm still gonna keep it Dos Santos decision. This is my one I'm most unsure of on my Fight Pick Championships right now. I don't know. That's not true. They're all a mess.
There's a lot. I have a lot of options. I have a lot of leftover salary, and I feel like I got to tell myself, as much as everybody out there listening, do not use all your salary if you don't need to. Don't pick all people you think are going to win and then just be like, oh, well, I have so much money left over. Let me pick a favorite. Because that favorite will probably shit the bed and your underdog would have still won. And it's just like,
yeah, you're so right.
Leave salary.
And I know I said I saved my money for this week, but I'm going to go late this week. This is going to be a Fight Pick Championship. I don't really love this. I'm going to, as far as DraftKings, I might play a couple of fun parlay twists on like a Bovada, but As far as Draftkings concerned, I probably won't go too heavy.
So then we get into the co-main event of the evening. At 135 pounds, we have Sugar Sean O'Malley coming in against Chito Marlin Vera, longtime standing underdog here at Latb. We both have been big on this young man for a lot of the same reasons Evil Toon was saying. Chito's Vera's got that grinding heart in there. Yeah, you can kick him in the face, and he will keep coming. He's not going to quit in there. He will fight for your money. In that last 17-6 record, coming off of a loss to Song Yadong, where Chito won with more takedowns in that fight and a slightly more average output. Chito Vera has made huge improvements on all of his grappling, all of his cardio, his game plans in general. Working with, is it Perillo that I see there? Now he's being profiled on the embeddeds, so we're getting to see a little bit more of his training. But as Evil Twin's saying, with a lot of this hard training, and I guess in the things that I want to speak more on with Chito Vera is, if you were to just look at what Henry Cejudo did to Dominic Cruz, do that game plan, you're going to win this fight, Chito Vera, especially with those delicate legs and O'Malley's had notoriously for a while now. The perfect 12-0 fighter has been getting it done with all sorts of spinning shit in there, being super crafty, looking incredibly well against Weiland 2 months ago, beating Quinones, Sokhamtha, Terry and Ware decision. But here, I feel like Chito can duck inside of a lot of that flashy stuff, and it's such a fun fight. O'Malley should be the favorite, but minus 315 is just way too much. The line is off here. I would be okay with minus 180 O'Malley, but it's all hype right now. The absolute value's on Vera, and I don't want to make that blind me into just picking him because he's the value. But I genuinely just see when all of those hits land and Chito Vera gets up and is like, all right, motherfucker, let's go. All of a sudden, O'Malley's going to be like, oh, damn, my spinning thing is going to be that much slower. And Chito Vera's gnarly on the ground as well. A lot of ground and pound, but he does that because he's okay with defending submissions. So, fight of the night contender. If you were expecting something else, you haven't been listening to Latb for any amount of time, because, of course, I'm going to pick my boy Chito Vera against a lot of people in there. Give me Chito in here. Decision. I think he picks him apart. I think he wins the last two. Notoriously, Chito Vera is a slow starter. He himself in the embeddeds. He gives up every round one. He gave it to Brad Pickett. He gave it up. But he came back in round 2 and 3 and knocked him out. And he does it with a lot of guys. They blow their wall. And then he's like, oh, wait, I'm still in this. I'm still here. So give me that decision. Who do you think are going to be taken in this one?
We haven't really even seen Sean O'Malley's ground game tested.
Correct.
Chito is mad skills on the ground. I think Chito's better everywhere. I don't like the reach he's going to give up. The last fight that Chito took wasn't a short amount of time to go to decision against Yadong Song. I'm not worried about Chito's chin anywhere. Chito does kind of have a soft body, and he does get hurt in his body, and is known to turtle up on the ground, but you're going to have to follow him down there if you want to do anything with it, and I don't think Sean O'Malley has the skills to follow Chito on the ground. So it always gives Chito the chance to recover, and like you're saying, he's a slow starter. He sometimes even gets hurt in the first round, but I hope he could use those leg kicks. I hope he could pick Sean O'Malley apart. Sean O'Malley has a really wide stance. The smaller ring might behoove him, but also going to decision's going to behoove him. There has not been a guy that's harder pushed than Sean O'Malley for the UFC. They even went back into the video game and changed his hair to rainbow for UFC 4. Yeah, I just think like they want this kid to succeed. They know it's like their crossover into like the Twitch world and the younger kids and all this kind of stuff. So Chito, he is one of the top guys in the division. To think that you could just crawl up and hit Chito, and I don't even know how Sean O'Malley got to 10, to be frank. I know everyone loves him. I think this is a huge step up. I have Vieira submission round 3 right now. I want to move it to decision because I want to see Sean O'Malley lasting till the end. But, you know, all the fights that he lasted till the end, tell he looked like shit at the end of those fights, or
Absolutely.
he had piss poor ring IQ. Marlin Vera just turns it up as the fight goes on. He's going to fight you the whole time. He's going to go for the submission the whole time. You have a big-ass head of hair. I don't know, maybe you can get up under that neck when you go in for something crazy. Maybe you're going to find quitting yourself you didn't know was there, but you haven't been in the octagon with a guy like Chito Vera. Shit, I want to pick Chito decision, but I just don't think the UFC is going to allow that unless it is, like, so obvious. We know that Yadong Song is a huge UFC push guy. We know that. And like you said, Chito won that fight, or in your opinion, maybe my opinion too, Chito won that fight. But it didn't matter. So this is on a short period of time. Another Jackson Wink guy, all wink, no wink. I'm going to go Chito Vera. Right now, I got submission round 3. I think Chito is going to turn it on in the end. I think Sean O'Malley is going to find quit in himself. This is early. This is the first fight of the Fight Pick Championship. I got to let it go. I got to go with Chito, too. And, by the way, shout out to Neil the security, who is late again. Our security's late. But the crowd
The evil one already stepped in and out.
Yeah.
He already came in through the back door.
The crowd doesn't get intense until the co-main and main. Anyway, Andy's super hyped for this fight. I want to also tell Neil, even if you don't think you're a Twitch guy, Twitch guy, download the app. It's super easy, and follow Zoltanite on that app so you can get the notifications, because we are going to be live there next week. And I'm going to try to make it live to YouTube as well, but I can't guarantee anything. So make sure you head on over there, everyone, and follow Zoltanite on Twitch so you can follow us live next week.
On DraftKings, Sean O'Malley, 9,200, the decided 3-1 favorite against Chito Vera's 7,000 even. Again, the value is on Vera there. I'm going to probably go in that 50%. I can't go all in. I am going to have 10% Sean O'Malley just because of that finish potential. But I think exposure in this is going to be heavily on that Vera side. I have to remember not to put all my eggs in that basket, though. I got to leave there to be a little bit of room in there. So it's going to be a hard-fought battle, though.
I love Chito Vera, but at the same time, this is not a Sean O'Malley hate. I hope he's the fucking real deal. The kid is fun to watch. He's exciting in there.
True.
He's the gimmick and a good fighter, which is everything you need in the UFC to be an entertainment sport. So I like him. I like everything he represents. I think he kicks ass. I just think, come on, give Chito some respect to be this big of an underdog, you guys. But I think Chito is almost always the underdog.
I would agree. I would agree with that. And he usually cashes out even if the inside odds makers or the judges, Adelaide Bird's in the crowd, unless that bitch is there. So definitely a great way to finish off the pay-per-view. We have the trilogy fight at 265 pounds. We got Stipe Miocic coming in against Daniel Cormier. They're both 1-1. The first fight ended in a first-round knockout out of the clinch. Daniel Cormier landed that right. In the second fight, looked like Stipe Miocic did not make the adjustments in the first 3 rounds of that fight. He just didn't. He got picked apart handedly in all 3 of those rounds. And until he made the adjustment, which Stipe's coaches have gone on air and said that they didn't actually tell him to go to the body, that Stipe figured that out on his own. And I'm like, well, good thing you guys are in his fucking corner, huh? Like, what? That sucks. So Stipe Miocic here, definitely putting it all on his shoulders. He's got fire lit under him. How do you feel about the headshots we've been seeing, Stipe? How do you like long hair? Dreamy Stipe Miocic.
Right below me in the YouTube chat, but there is an actual picture. I had to go and try to pull something real fast for our on-screen appearance, and he looks a little demonic. Like, DC just looks like DC. Chubby old DC, like normal DC. Like, I look mad, but he looks mad in the same way as, like, your PE teacher, if you told him you ran 4 laps, but really you only ran 3, and you know you ran 4, but he still let you go back into the gym. He was like, he just looked at you like that. But Stipe, he got that creeper vibe. No matter where in life, I don't mean him as a person, but in the picture specifically that the UFC 252 is running as their promo, Stipe in that photo, if you put him in any situation with that face, you would be bugged out. If that was the guy serving you your ice cream, pumping you your gas, if he came over to your house to do a contractor bill and he was like, "Hi, sir."
I could see it. I guess he does remind me of who's the bad guy in Charlie's Angels, the 2001 with Drew Barrymore.
You
He's
know
kind of
who
got
that
that
is?
lock in the back.
I think that bad guy is the dad from Back to the Future.
Yes, is it really?
I think it's George McFly.
That's awesome. Yes. So very McFly-ish to me in there. But Stipe Miocic here does come in with wrestling credentials. He can put a game plan together, even if it's without his coaches in here. If he looks for that body shot, how do you feel that Daniel Cormier has been openly talking about his game plan, saying, hey, if he keeps looking for that body shot, go for it. I see a lot of other openings. And, I mean, watching the last two fights, Daniel Cormier has seen those openings. He did exploit them, couldn't finish them the second time around. But the smaller cage, Daniel Cormier has also been boasting about, as Stipe has also said, damn it, I wish I had a bigger cage because, again, the wrestling goes to Cormier here. And Ben Askren said, Daniel Cormier, you told me once all I needed to do was wrestle. And DC was like, oh, guess what? I'm an Olympic wrestler. I'm going to wrestle all day. Like, he openly is talking about the game plan. Do you think that's to get into Stipe's head, or he's actually going to do these things?
Same to be said. Do you think Stipe really has an eye problem, or is it just to get into DC's head?
I think he has an eye problem.
I don't know.
He got hella poked. I watch a tape.
Yeah, but it doesn't mean it was like a permanent. Like yeah, it doesn't mean it was like a Michael Bisping thing. It doesn't mean it was like
DC knows it's his last fight, so he's gonna get away with a dick kick, two dick kicks, an eye poke. Like, what are the odds on how many fouls DC's gonna get in here? Because he knows, he's like, I'm done. Go ahead, cite me. What's gonna happen? I'm gonna win anyways.
Same to be said about DC is this is 2 fights past the DC that told us he was gonna retire. This is a dude that doesn't mentally want to be in there against the Miocic that, you know, as far as we know, except for payment from the UFC, he's fine. He plans on fighting. He wants to hold his belt. Do you think there's a mental checkout at all to worry about from DC? It's not like his camp's showing us anything great of late.
He did get Rockhold and Cain Velasquez to do this entire camp, where Rockhold's saying he's coming back when everyone thought he retired from that jaw injury. But because he did this training camp with DC, he feels he's up to it. So I got to feel like they're putting in work in the room. DC did shed a lot of weight. He's in that 240 range when he was easily pushing 3 right before this training camp. So I don't think he can lie that away. Like, that can only come off with work. And I do think, though, that this is probably his last one. He's going to go heavy into the retirement. And again, he's going to get up in that 3 range. But if Brock Lesnar comes out of left field and wants to fight DC in 5 years, DC will fight Brock Lesnar because it's that big of a payday.
Do you think there's any truth to when you're spending time losing weight, you're not spending time training properly?
Not necessarily, because I feel like there's a lot of meditation and a lot of game planning and at times doing road work. Like, sometimes road work is like, okay, yeah, you are running, or you are doing just like shots across. I know what that age-old adage, and in wrestling it's big. It's like you wrestle to get better at wrestling. But the Russians showed us, and if I would have listened to my coach more, he's like, I know drilling's boring, but drilling wins championships. Drilling one move 100 times is boring because you're like, I know this move. Let's live wrestle. Where it's been proven.
Who do you think's in there for more of a payday, Stipe or DC? What's the point of this for DC right now? To retire as the champion only?
to get this fight back. That's why I think he's in this. DC is openly like, I got knocked out in a fight I was winning. I can beat this guy and I can leave with the belt.
The same to be said. You got knocked out in a fight you were winning, but he added up body shots throughout the whole entire fight, and we all know body shots are usually not a one-and-doneer. They're a combination of things. Also, the first fight that you were supposedly winning handily, you gave somebody a Michael Bisping eye injury to do that. So it's like if you're including the cheating skills as part of the skills of DC, yeah, maybe he's going to win. Maybe a 41-year-old guy is going to come out that has a half heart in the ring and fucking poke someone in the eye and get 2 dick kicks in and then maybe finish the guy who's the champ. I just don't see it going that way. I have not always been a DC lover, but I don't love what I see from DC, or at least since I've been watching UFC. I see Stipe as a guy who still wants to be in there, and if the UFC would pay him what he was worth, he would fight without even question. To go back in there against a guy like DC, I would think I would need a big payday, especially if what you're saying is true and what we all know is true. I'm going to get kicked in the dick twice and maybe lose my other eye. So it's like, okay, pay me what it's worth, because you and I both know DC doesn't give a fuck about ending my career. So give me Stipe Miocic. I have a KO round 2, but I do see it being body shots to add up to something. I do think he's been in there training heavily for the last 11 months. I do think he has something else for DC. I think he has the reach advantage. I think he can use some leg kicks, some nasty knees. I think he covered a lot of shots that DC gave him, and I don't think he minded giving away a few rounds to DC knowing he was going to be gassed. In a 5-round fight, that's a big, huge game plan that a lot of fighters use. So I think Miocic is going to use it here. Give me Stipe. Knockout round 3. I see body shots, and then DC giving up. He don't want to be in there. He's going to collect his checks whether he's painful in round 2 or round 3. He doesn't need the belt to retire. He's already swallowed that John Jones pride.
So this is a 5-rounder because it is going to be for the belt, the undisputed title. On DraftKings, you're going to end up paying $8,200 for Stipe Miocic against Daniel Cormier's $8,000 even. I don't want to stack this one because it's a heavyweight bout. I want to say I could, but it could be quick. It could finish either way. Do you see it? You don't see it going all 5 rounds because I don't see it going all 5 rounds.
Even when you say names to me like Luke Rockholt's training DC, Cain Velasquez is training DC, I'm like, okay, like that doesn't, neither of those things make me excited. The only thing that actually made me excited is somewhere this week I heard somebody say, do you think it's time for Rockhold Weidman 3? And I'm like, if both those dudes want to still fight, I don't see any other fights for either dude that's a big enough name to make it worth a paycheck, and they're both off so many losses. Yeah, that's the only fight that's left for both those dudes. So maybe Luke Rockhold can come in and show you some tricks that get him knocked out every time. Maybe Cain can come in and show you the same wrestling you've learned for the last 20 years from Cain. I don't know. DC hater hat.
Well, you're going to be seeing him on the mic for a long time.
I love him on the mic. I think he's so charming. I think he's so funny. I love him on the mic. I wish, if I want DC to win, I want him to beat the fuck out of John Jones. I would love that. I would love that. But here is Stipe. Don't come in and collect a check on Stipe. Don't do that shit. Don't pull your ass out of the chair, Paul Felder, and try to collect a check on me.
I'm going to go TKO round number 4, Daniel Cormier. I could even see a decision. I love that we're split up there. We're covering all of our bases, getting a little bit done. The Fight Pick Championships are going to keep it extra spicy in there. It's going to be such a fun show. I got decision Cormier on my tap. I'm going to move that TKO round number 4 right now. Oh, but exposure, I'm going to have a little bit of both guys because they both can finish at any given time. Surprised, not surprised, it's so even. Such a fun fight. Such a good pay-per-view. I
disagree.
Oh, really?
I don't think it's. I think it's an okay fight and a meh pay-per-view.
I'm pretty hyped about Chito Vera, though. But of course, we're loyalists to the Cheeto there.
We got Cheeto fingers.
Absolutely. But other fun plays we've been talking about, Love the Evil Twin talking about Felice Herring. We both saw that being an option. Tito Vero being one in there. Also saying John Dodson is somebody you got to watch out for. That Jim Miller, Vince Pichel with a hip injury. I feel like that's going to be one of those little back narratives that Pichel will, after the fact, be like, I wasn't the same after my hip surgery. Just like everybody else that's had hip surgery says. Everybody.
This is what I have to tell you. The
Yes.
way I think you go through this fight card and everything you and me and Evil Twin agreed on, if you made a parlay of that and just did a bullshit little parlay, like $5, you could make like $400 off $5. Like, it's the crazy kind of underdog night that
It's
if you
heavy.
pick the right 3 or 4 fighters, you could really make a killing. Like, bigger than Draftkings, like bigger than a, whatever. It's whatever that Draftkings card that's going to get you all winners. If you put that exact same card in a parlay, it's going to get you like $500 for $1. You know what I'm saying, though?
Yeah, it might be more like 50, but that's legit money.
No, it's the kind of
For a
night
dollar.
you don't have to pick a loser to afford everyone. You don't have to be like, I think
Absolutely.
it's going to go to decision. Let me pick this guy because he'll get still 40 points. You can pick all over 100 guys. This is the kind of fight night that you can pick all guys over 100
Right.
and afford them and have money left in the tank, like you were saying.
Absolutely, and they're looking at Dawkins as heavyweight earlier on in the night as well. With these heavyweight nights, because there is like 4 or 5 heavyweight fights, it's heavyweight. People go to sleep at heavyweight, so there's options.
It makes me want to switch. The only option for JDS to win the fight against Rosenstruck is to try to grind him with a takedown. Somewhere a takedown has to come in that. It's been a while since we've seen that JDS.
Very true, very true. That's why I'm fading it. That's exactly why I'm fading it. We haven't seen that for a while, so it definitely was a fun one. It was 11. We got some
I'm going to
dirty
stay away
ones in
from
there.
him. I'm staying away from JDS because he is, I think, ATT. I think it's a Jackson Wink night. I'm going with Wink guys.
Ooh, that's the play.
I'm going heavy in the wink.
That's the play, underdog city. That's what John Jones said. So definitely,
I thought he was going heavy in the hole.
that again. That will come out in a biography. I guarantee it. I gotta put a bet on that one. When she comes out, she's gonna be like, "Yes, we've been through this. We've been through that one." So, anything left on this pay-per-view 252, the trilogy?
One more thing. Make sure you're downloading that Twitch app. It's so easy. If you have a computer and you're that person, twitch.com, and put on a little website. You already give your whole information to everyone in the world anyway. What's one more website? YouTube is a dying platform, and we can't converse with you as good as we'd like. Twitch is so fun. That and all the other people from the Fight Pick Championship are on Twitch, and there's a good opportunity that they'll be stopping by stream to talk shit more frequently in a platform that we all use. So we would love it if you came over there, and when you're over there, follow Zol tonight if you want to hit us live, because we are going to be getting together sometime this weekend and making sure that is set up, and we'll still upload these to YouTube, but as far as live and to make sure you're getting the freshest information, you have to follow Zoltan Knight on Twitch. So that's all I have to say. Be extra safe out there. Keep your eyes on, love each other, and that's it.